Dakota Politics with Nicholas Kwolek, Josh Meny, and political correspondent Maddie Beer Temple.
A good Sunday to you. Thank you for joining us for Inside North Dakota Politics. I'm Nicholas Kwolek.
I'm Josh Meny.
And I'm Maddie Beer Temple. We have a lot to get into today, including a candidate forum with the two men vying to become the next state treasurer. But we begin with the nation saying goodbye to the second female Supreme Court justice in the country's history, Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Thousands of people viewed the late justice's flag-draped casket, paying their respects, honoring her life, including her 27 years on the court. Justice Ginsburg was nominated to the Supreme Court in June of 1993 by then-President Bill Clinton. In her time on the court, she was recognized as one of its liberal voices and notably issued a dissent in the case that decided the 2000 election between George W. Bush and Al Gore. Ginsburg would eventually be joined by other female justices by way of Elena Kagan and Sonia Sotomayor, both nominated by President Obama. Ginsburg had been battling cancer up until her death. Ruth Bader Ginsburg will be laid to rest at Arlington National Cemetery.
And we now know who President Trump has nominated to fill the vacancy on the court left by Justice Ginsburg. Saturday, President Trump introduced Amy Coney Barrett. She's a judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 7th Circuit who graduated top of her law class at Notre Dame before teaching law there. Barrett clerked for Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia in the 1990s, and her potential appointment could tip the balance of the court to favor conservatives. She will face scrutiny from senators during upcoming hearings before a vote. Upon officially being nominated, Barrett spoke at the Rose Garden of the White House.
If confirmed, I would not assume that role for the sake of those in my own circle, and certainly not for my own sake. I would assume this role to serve you. I would discharge the judicial oath, which requires me to administer justice without respect to persons.
Both North Dakota Senators Kevin Cramer and John Haugen say they support moving forward with a vote on President Trump's nominee. Some Democrats accuse GOP senators of hypocrisy, pointing to 2016 when they did not hold hearings on President Obama's nominee. Cramer says this year's situation is different now that the same party holds the White House and Senate, but notes that even in 2016, when he was not a senator, he was critical of their unwillingness to vote.
I was fairly critical of the Senate when I was in the House during the 2016 Merrick Garland nomination. But I wasn't critical because the Senate didn't want Merrick Garland. I didn't blame the Senate for not wanting Merrick Garland. What I was critical of is that they weren't willing to take a vote to demonstrate that.
Senator John Haugen also provided his opinion of filling the vacancy, saying in part, quote, "When a vacancy occurs on the Supreme Court in an election year and the presidency and the Senate are controlled by the same party, the precedent has been for the president's nominee to get a vote on confirmation. That is the case in this election year, and we should go forward accordingly." The senator went on to say, quote, "I look forward to voting on the president's nominee, and that person should be someone who will uphold the law and not legislate from the bench. That is what I believe is best for North Dakota and the nation," end quote. You can read Senator Haugen's full statement on kxnet.com.
A bill named for a Fargo murder victim to address cases of missing and murdered Native Americans is heading to President Donald Trump's desk for his signature. Savannah's Act, named for Savannah Greywind, passed the House Monday after passing the Senate earlier this year. With a presidential signature, better law enforcement practices to track, solve, and prevent crimes against Native Americans would be put in place. It would also include the Departments of Justice and Interior and American Indian tribes partnering to develop national law enforcement guidelines. The pregnant 22-year-old was murdered in 2017 and her unborn baby was cut from her body. The remains were found in the Red River north of Fargo, but her infant survived. MHA Nation Chairman Mark Fox says Savannah's Act is a significant step in the right direction.
It's just opening the door. To pass something and to identify the problem is just one bold step. You have all these many subsequent steps that have to occur that will bring justice to those Native women and Native people that are murdered and missing.
Fox says this is important to all tribes and Native Americans across the country, not just those in North Dakota.
With 37 days left before Election Day, we have important dates to share to help you make sure your vote is counted. If you want an absentee ballot, get your application turned in no later than October 19th. There will also be drop boxes in each county, and your ballot has to be dropped off no later than 5 p.m. on Monday, November 2nd. If you're voting by mail, your ballot must be postmarked no later than the day before the election in order for it to count.
When Inside North Dakota Politics returns, we'll help you get to know the two candidates for state treasurer a little better.
Our candidate forum with Republican Thomas Beadle and Democrat Mark Haugen is next.
Local service providers do so much for us. They save lives, serve, and protect.
They do this service out of duty and commitment to the community. That's why KX News wants to give back. Each month, KX News will deliver breakfast or lunch to a local public service team.
And that evening, we'll introduce you to those heroes who serve and protect your community every day.
KX gives back. KX News' commitment to putting North Dakota first.
Sponsored by McDonald's. The game is over, and you still can't get enough? Get the inside look with KX Sports After the Whistle every Sunday nights at 10:35. Review the greatest plays and most shocking upsets of the week, plus impactful stories on athletes that go beyond the game. Catch up on the action with Phil Bonatti, Luke Gamble, and David Gibson to tackle all the latest sports news, highlights, and scores. After the Whistle, Sunday nights at 10:35, exclusively on KX.
My life as a wife is wonderful. My husband and I, we've been together since I was a freshman in college. We've worked over the years really hard to find that balance. We share everything in life and we care about one another. We're raising two beautiful children together, and what they see in us is very, very important. We want them to see that love that we feel for one another. So my life as a wife it's beautiful. I'm Alicia Huck, and I am an anchor for Good Day Dakota. When you have a passion for something and you're really happy in what you're doing, it's really easy to work hard at it. I think my work ethic comes from different people and different experiences, because I saw my parents working all my life very hard and supporting their families, and they gave it their all because it was important to them. And I've seen those who don't give it their all, and I don't want to be that person. I want to be that person giving it my all and making a difference. I'm Alicia Huck, and I am an anchor for Good Day Dakota.
Back to Inside North Dakota Politics on KX.
And we're joined by Republican candidate for state treasurer Thomas Beadle and the Democratic NPL candidate Mark Haugen.
Thank you for joining us, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thomas, let's begin.
Sure.
So the Republican primary for the office of treasurer was unusually contentious this year. Your rival, candidate Dan Johnston, received financial support from U.S. Senator Kevin Cramer, as well as a surprise endorsement tweet from President Donald Trump. You, on the other hand, received $25,000 from the governor. What do you say to critics who say that your campaign lays bare to the divisiveness of the Republican Party in North Dakota, and if elected, it will only further advance that infighting with the Republican-controlled legislature?
Well, first off, thanks for having us here. We had certainly a very contested, unusually high-profile primary race for the treasurer's office this year. That's not something any of us saw coming. I was not the first candidate into this race, but I was recruited into this race by many of my legislative colleagues, by business leaders across the state, who knew we needed a candidate that was not beholden to dogma, but rather practical, detail-oriented, and able to roll up the sleeves and get the job done. And so I've been honored to receive the support not only from Governor Burgum, like you said, but Governors Dalrymple, Senator Haugen, Congressman Armstrong, leaders up and down the state of North Dakota, all across our state. And what I've been telling folks, especially since the primary, is that now it's the time to come together united as one. The Republican Party is a big tent party. We have wide divide of ideological differences within our own party, just like the Democratic Party has as well. And so it's just a matter of putting the good ideas forward, making sure that we have somebody who's willing to get the work done and best serve North Dakota. I was fortunate to come out on top in the primary. I'm excited as we move towards the general election here in November. And I'm committed to working on behalf of all of our citizens, whether they voted for me in the primary or not, whether they'll vote for me in the general election or not, in order to make sure that we're doing the job well for our citizens.
Now, Mark, you were endorsed by U.S. Senator Kevin Cramer's wife, Chris Cramer, because of your pro-life stance. But other than that, you haven't received that many endorsements, especially compared to the Republicans. Would you consider yourself an independent candidate?
I'm a Democratic, nonpartisan leader. And yes, Senator Cramer's wife, Chris, and I worked together at the University of Mary for a number of years, and we've talked about politics. There's some issues that Chris and I don't agree on. But there's one issue that we do agree on. My wife and I do believe that life needs to be respected at all stages, and that's our personal faith, that's our personal conviction. But we realize that the state treasurer's office does not create public policy. I'm not in this race to tell people what their conviction should be. But what I am doing is making sure that my vision is to make sure that the state treasurer does the job to the best of its ability for the people of North Dakota.
Well, let's stick with that, because in the last session it was discovered that $262 million meant for North Dakota public schools were misplaced. Now, the Republican Treasurer Kelly Schmidt claimed that the Attorney General, Wayne Stenjman's office, gave some bad advice. The legislature eventually moved money around to backfill the mismanaged money. If you were elected treasurer, how will you avoid a mistake like this, Mark?
Well, there are three constitutionally mandated funds that were affected: the Common Schools Trust Fund, the Foundation Aid Stabilization Fund, and the Water Resource Trust Fund. And these buckets still need to be filled, but those monies, from what I understand, ended up in the general fund rather than in these buckets. I believe, first of all, I believe that the legislature had opportunity to address this much earlier than 2019. And we still don't know why we didn't get this addressed earlier rather than in March of 2019, as reported by the legislature. I believe if I'm elected, we need to take a look at all of our statutes, the Century Code that's the Treasurer's Office is involved with, and make sure that you know, that we're in concert with with everything in statute that the Treasurer's Office is doing. We need to make sure our technology is also doing the best job that it can in distributing the funds to the people of North Dakota. So that's what I want to do in the first days as state treasurer.
And Thomas, you were on the House Appropriations Committee when that happened. What did happen?
Yeah. So we were made aware of a problem last legislative session. There was a lot of finger pointing, but it came down to some ambiguity in law, or perceived ambiguity in law, and how those funds should be addressed. And like Mark said, it goes to three different constitutionally mandated funds. Once we were made aware of it, we were recognized the need to make sure that we provide these resources. We recognized there's a whole lot of finger pointing going on, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's pointing the fingers at who. It's a matter of fixing the error, making sure it doesn't happen again, and moving forward and providing the necessary resources for our citizens. So we had Senate Bill 2368 last legislative session, created some formulas to adjust and backfill those funds, make sure that we have everything correct going forward. You know, we've always been committed to providing good quality education to our students across North Dakota, whether it's K-12 or higher education. We're making sure to fund that. We've continually made high-level investments. In the mishap with funds going towards the Common Schools Trust Fund, doesn't change that. We made sure to fix that, and it'll be corrected going forward. But what's important is to make sure that we have a detail-oriented approach, that we're dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and we try to make sure this doesn't happen again. And if it does happen again, it's important to focus on good communication, make sure we have transparency, let people know what's going on, let people know what the issue is, and rather than try to place blame, let's fix it going forward and make sure that we're doing our best for our citizens in North Dakota.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Stay tuned to Inside North Dakota Politics. We'll be back with the second part of the candidate forum for the office of State Treasurer.
Once again, here at ABC Seamless, we have gone to the extreme to show you the benefits of triple pane Krypton gas windows. We have cooled the outside of the glass to minus 15 degrees. As you can see, the inside temperature is still 69 degrees. Now, we have heated the outside of the glass to 449 degrees. When I place my hand on the inside of the glass, there is no transfer of heat. In the winter, we will keep the heat in, and in the summer, we will keep the heat out. ABC Seamless. Better windows, better installation, and a better warranty.
While other news stations are focused on national news, we make local news our priority.
As the number of positive cases continue to rise in North Dakota, so does the demand for testing.
News happens here every day, and we're there to cover it. From top stories across western North Dakota to changing conditions in the weather.
We're going to see the potential for showers and thunderstorms developing.
Bringing you the news that matters right here, right now, and putting North Dakota first.
When you have a passion for something and you're really happy in what you're doing, it's really easy to work hard at it. I think my work ethic comes from different people and different experiences because I saw my parents working all my life very hard and supporting their families, and they gave it their all because it was important to them. And I've seen those who don't give it their all, and I don't want to be that person. I want to be that person giving it my all and making a difference. I'm Alicia Huck, and I am an anchor for Good Day Dakota.
Monday morning on Good Day Dakota, the wind continues into the new work week. Find out about that and the big cool down we have in store.
And a young local man started using at the age of 14, which led to years of crime and arrests. But that's all changed, and we will share his biggest influence Monday morning on Good Day Dakota.
Before you choose this November, get all the facts here on Inside North Dakota Politics, Sunday mornings at 10:30, only on KX News. Back to Inside North Dakota Politics on KX.
We are joined by the candidates for the office of State Treasurer. Thomas, back in 2017, there was a bill put up to eliminate the office of Treasurer and split it and merge it into the the governor's office. What do you say to folks who say it's a bit hypocritical that you voted for a bill that would eliminate the office that you're running for this year?
Sure. So, I've had the opportunity and the honor of serving in the North Dakota House for the last 10 years, representing District 27. I voted on over 5,000 pieces of legislation during that time. In 2017, we had the bill up to explore and put it on the ballot for the citizens to decide whether they wanted to have a standalone elected treasurer or if they want to divide the duties between the governor's office, like you mentioned, and the tax commissioner's office, two other elected individuals. I had citizens in my district reach out to me and say they wanted to have the opportunity to vote for that. I represent them, and I'm also always willing to have the conversation and explore how we can create more efficiencies in state government and make sure that we're protecting taxpayer dollars and streamlining our processes. So I was willing to cast that green vote so we could have that discussion, move it forward to the ballot, and continue to have the conversation on how we can best serve and be good stewards of our citizens' money. I'm running for this office because we know the duties of the Treasurer's office are tremendously important. They're the keeper of the state's checkbook. Every dollar of taxpayer money that flows through the state of North Dakota currently goes through the Treasurer's office. We need to make sure that we have someone in that office who's committed to an attention to detail and making sure that the job's getting done well. Additionally, the Treasurer sits on numerous boards. They have a lot of roles and responsibilities where they have a fiduciary obligation to our citizens to make sure that those funds are being invested well. And I've got a background and experience that I can bring to the table there to make sure that we're protecting our taxpayers and that we're fighting to invest their funds wisely and make sure that we're protecting them as we move forward. And so I feel that, I voted in 2017 to have the conversation. I'm always happy to explore efficiencies in government, but the duties are clear. We need to make sure they're being done well, and I believe I've got the skill set to do that.
And Mark, on that bill in 2017, but further, the efficiency point, what's your view on that and working transparently with the voters?
I believe the voters have spoken loud and clear on this issue throughout our history. In two separate occasions, the voters of North Dakota voted down this proposal to eliminate the Treasurer's office and bring in under another agency. I believe the voters want a Treasurer's office that's independent, transparent, outside the purview of the governor's office. And I feel, again, in my candidacy, I've been straightforward in saying we need to keep the Treasurer's office as an elected position. It needs to be responsible to the people, and that's what I'll carry forward as we go forward towards the election. And that's what I'll do as Treasurer, to make sure it's an independent voice for the people of North Dakota.
And so finally, the last question, gentlemen. Very detail-oriented job. You get to see where every dollar is budgeted. What makes you the best candidate for this position, Mark?
Leadership. I've been in leadership positions all my adult life, specifically with emergency medical services, with EMTs and paramedics at a national level, state and local level, holding a variety of positions from board of director to president to treasurer. And I've led an emergency medical services system that is, from a volunteer standpoint, is the top, what I believe is the top volunteer EMS system in this country. I'm also been in education most of my adult life, as a paramedic educator, as an educator out at the University of Mary, where I'd be able to work with large groups of people, with students, and develop consensus in moving forward with tasks and policies. So I believe the blend of my work with emergency medical services and education makes me a great candidate for this office in November.
Thomas?
Well, you know, we have a rich history in North Dakota, and I'm proud of our heritage here in this state. Now, I'm a fifth-generation North Dakota, and my family's got deep roots all across the state. We homesteaded in Fort Ransom. My great-uncle Dean was a physician up in Williston. My grandfather Earl was the head of the Alumni Association at UND for over 30 years. Now, I'm proud of the rich traditions and opportunities we have here in North Dakota, and I'm bringing that with me as we move forward to the legislature. You know, my grandfather, in his years of service, both to the state and to the university, had a mantra: you always leave the woodpile higher. Try to make things better off than how you found them. That's the mentality that I brought with me when I ran for the legislature 10 years ago, to try to make things better off. You know, we've done some great things, whether it's bringing new technology to the classroom and bringing down costs for our college students, whether that's streamlining operations within the tax department, the insurance department, eliminating 15 full-time employees while maintaining a high-quality degree of service, so we're being efficient with our resources, or unifying some of our IT systems to better protect and provide protection for our citizens' data and information. We get over 5.3 million cyber attacks every month in North Dakota on our state systems, and we need to make sure that we're doing what we can to protect that. I'm proud of what I've done in the House, and I believe that I have left the woodpile higher.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. We appreciate your time on Inside North Dakota Politics. Stay tuned. We've got more coming straight ahead.
One of my favorite parts about the United Way is that when you make a donation, your dollars stay local.
All these organizations work toward that goal of living together, you know, living united.
That's all of us uniting for a better community.
So if you are able to give back in the good times, you know that someone's there to give back to you in the hard times.
Your donation allows us the resources to improve the lives of many in our communities. Contact the Souris Valley United Way to learn how you can help.
As you go about your day, you want to know what's happening to keep you ahead. KXNet.com is always on, keeping you informed and putting you first wherever you are. Breaking news, top local stories, and weather. Plus, watch our news online anytime, anywhere on the KX News live stream.
A big day for Democrat voters, but also Republican.
KXNet.com and the KX News app is always on, putting North Dakota first online and on the go.
From sunny days to snowy nights, the KX Storm Team will give you accurate local weather forecasts,
so you can plan your day accordingly.
And when we look ahead to early next week, things are going to change.
Get local weather coverage you can count on.
On air, online, and on the go. And as we look ahead tonight, this is something to really pay attention to.
Your weather matters, and we've got you covered.
KX Storm Team, keeping you ahead of the storm. The game is over, and you still can't get enough? Get the inside look with KX Sports After the Whistle every Sunday nights at 10:35. Review the greatest plays and most shocking upsets of the week, plus impactful stories on athletes that go beyond the game. Catch up on the action with Phil Bonatti, Luke Gamble, and David Gibson to tackle all the latest sports news, highlights, and scores. After the Whistle, Sunday nights at 10:35, exclusively on KX. To Inside North Dakota Politics on KX.
Election Day is a little over a month away.
And while Governor Doug Burgum's pandemic response is on display at weekly briefings, the Democratic NPL gubernatorial candidate has her own plan. Maddie, you spoke with Shelley Lenz recently.
Yes, Nicholas, I did. And she told me that her plan to handle the pandemic would be different from Governor Burgum's in some pretty key ways. A one-time supporter of Governor Doug Burgum is now gunning for his job this November.
And Doug Burgum is just not getting the job done. Remember, I voted for him in 2016.
Shelley Lenz runs a veterinarian clinic, holds degrees in chemistry and biology, and a PhD in neuropharmacology. And this November, she's challenging Burgum for his spot, saying her background lends her the experience needed to better handle the pandemic.
We have no unity of response. He calls it unity of command, but he's, you know, his people that should be advising him are quitting on him.
She recently made her own COVID plan public. It centers on implementing a new structure of communication with an incident commander at the helm. But Lenz made clear she would be the final decision maker.
If the incident commander can't convince me, and I say no, I really don't think using $1.8 million of public money when we're in crisis will solve this virus crisis. You need to convince the legislature then.
While Burgum has been reluctant to implement a mask mandate, making North Dakota one of 19 states nationally without one, Lenz says she'd take input from the incident commander and act accordingly. Would you implement a mask mandate?
If my incident commander suggested that, and I thought it was based on sound reason, science, and culture, yes, I would.
She also said she'd call emergency legislative sessions to address relief funding, increase access to testing, and support paid family leave, among other proposals. Meanwhile, months into the pandemic, Burgum has continued to ratchet up the risk level for some counties as recently as today's press conference.
Joining a number of those counties in yellow include now Cass, Dunn, Emmons, McKinsey, Richland, Sargent, Stutzman, and Ward.
An April report found that 67% of North Dakotans approved of Governor Burgum's response to the pandemic. Reporting in Bismarck for KX News, Maddie Beertemple. And while she is the Dem NPL candidate, Lenz emphasized that she identifies as an independent.
Now, Maddie, it sounds like this incident commander is going to play a really big role in the administration. How would the incident commander position get selected?
That's right, Josh. It would be a big responsibility, and Lenz says it would be an appointed position, and she's looking for somebody with experience in crisis management and also someone with a background in medical and military as well.
A pretty big role to fill.
Now, Maddie, it seems as though Shelley Lenz didn't identify one specific issue that sort of made her go, you know what, I have to run. Was that correct?
That's right. She said there was a variety of things that made her want to run, but one thing she did mention was a lack of transparency that she thinks is coming out of Burgum's leadership. And so one of the ways she wanted to address that was with her new structure of command with that incident commander at the helm. She says it'll allow for a little bit more accountability, she thinks.
Yeah, definitely sounds like a much more unified response than giving the local control.
Right, absolutely. She made that a big point as well. Unity and one clear decision maker.
All right, thanks, Maddie. And that's all the time we have for Inside North Dakota Politics.
We hope to join us next week when we'll be joined by Representative Kelly Armstrong and his Democratic challenger, Zach Racknerud.
For now, we'll say goodbye. Have a great Sunday.